It's a great pleasure to be with you all here this morning and to see so many of you here for, I think, a particularly timely moment to discuss and review the role of civil society in Kenya. Some of you who know me know that I've been in Kenya now for 3 years, and you have taught me well that we can't say remarks to each other unless we include a good animal story. So I'm going to start with the one about the mousetrap. You know this one? It's a very good story. There's a farm, and a farmer's wife brings a mousetrap into the home. And you can be quite sure the mouse is not very happy about this. So he rushes off to the chicken and he says, have you seen, I'm very worried. There is a mousetrap. And the chicken looks at the mouse and says, I can't see why that's my problem. I'm not a mouse. So the mouse goes to the cow and says, have you seen, the farmer's wife, she's brought a mousetrap. What are we going to do? And the cow goes, do I look like a mouse? And that night, the mousetrap is set, and a snake gets into the house and gets caught in the mousetrap. And the next morning, when the farmer's wife goes to investigate and tries to take the snake out of the trap, she gets bitten, and she falls very seriously ill. And the farmer, he knows that when someone is ill with a snake bite, the thing that will make them better is chicken soup. So the chicken, not a good time. And after the chicken has been killed and made into chicken soup and fed to the farmer's wife, very sadly the farmer's wife, she doesn't get better and she dies. And for the funeral, which the farmer has to call all of his people, of course, he needs a very good feast, and the cow gets slaughtered for the feast. And the mouse is left behind, wondering why his former friends, the chicken and the cow, did not help him with his problem on the mousetrap. So look, this is a familiar story. I think the message is fairly clear. Whatever the challenge is, we must work together to address it. And that is why I wanted to be able to join you here today, Ezra, Irungu, others. Thank you for your invitation. I've got 3 key messages in the context of that familiar Kenyan story. The first message should not surprise anyone in this room, and that is that the UK government supports a vibrant and accountable civil society in Kenya. We publish an annual human rights report, and I'll quote from that because that is the official policy of my government. It says a vibrant civil society can be a multiplier for all human rights, driving sustainable economic development, reinforcing good governance, and a force for stability and the rule of law. Economies and societies tend to thrive when people freely contribute ideas and hold their governments to account. End of quote. So there is no doubt to me that NGOs and civil society organisations in Kenya make an enormous contribution across a wide range of sectors, including governance, human rights, security, healthcare, agriculture, natural resource management, education, economic growth, and women's advancement, among many others. I can see you've just been discussing some of the figures about the value that civil society is adding and contributing to the Kenyan economy. The ones I've seen, the ones from 2012, which talk about employment of over 200,000 people, and a contribution of around 15% of the budget. That was about 152 billion shillings that year, with most of it going to health and education. The 2010 Constitution, of course, provides a blueprint to establish one of the most modern democracies in the world, and in Kenya, the gains that we have seen since then would simply not have been possible without the collective effort of all of you of the CSO sector. So I think it is my view that civil society is enmeshed in the fabric of Kenyan society, helping channel the collective voice of Kenyan citizens, championing diversity in areas where that needs to be heard. Put simply, civil society, when given the space to work, builds a better country. My second message is that this powerful role of civil society carries a responsibility, including clear accountability and transparency. As we work to retain the space for civil society, CSOs must be seen to lead the way in setting the highest ethical standards. That means ensuring proper regulation and a renewed commitment to transparency. The UK supports greater accountability for NGOs and civil society and recognises the need to ensure that organisations are not being used for illicit purposes. And we're encouraging all sides to work together to that end. We've just seen clips from the hearings, the 8 hearings across Kenya to solicit feedback from the public on the PBO back to 2013. And I'd like to commend the Ministry of Devolution and Planning and the PBO Task Force for their commitment to go through that process. We support the full implementation of the 2013 Act as it was originally envisioned, and the legislative framework it provides for enhancing good governance and accountability. We encourage the balance between mechanisms that preserve the work and independence of CSOs with the need for transparency and accountability, and strongly believe that both those things can be achieved simultaneously. We're ready to offer our further support to that end, and like all of you, I look forward to seeing the full report of the task force made public. My third and final message is that for our own part, the UK government is committed to transparency both from ourselves and our work in Kenya and our own partners. We're one of the largest bilateral donors to Kenya with an annual aid contribution of around 24 billion Kenyan shillings to support Kenyan development and prosperity. And we understand better than most, therefore, the need for transparency. We have to justify back to British ministers and the British Parliament every shilling we spend. That means rigorous accountability mechanisms with our partners. Everything we write, all the decisions we take, project procurement and spend, they're all available for public scrutiny online. And we expect all of our CSO partners to fully abide by the reporting requirements as stated by Kenyan law. This is also true, and particularly relevant in the current environment, in the discussion of our shared fight against insecurity and terrorism. You will have seen press reports yesterday of concerns about UK, US and Norwegian government funding of the coastal NGO Haki Africa. And I want to assure you that we carry out extensive due diligence from all the organisations we partner with to ensure they're not being used for illicit purposes such as terrorist financing. We have not seen any evidence to suggest that Haki Africa's activities, that's a mouthful, pose a threat to national security or jeopardise Kenya's efforts at combating terrorism. And if we're in the possession of such evidence, we will of course take this extremely seriously. My broader point is the important one. We need to work with communities at a local level if we are to defeat the scourge of terrorism. The UK experience is that winning the trust of communities is a critical component of the fight against terror. Put short, communities beat terrorism. We need to address software as well as hardware to tackle the underlying causes that lead some individuals to become radicalised and turn to violence. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, not mutually exclusive, they are mutually beneficial. The same is true for the broader agenda of civil society, whether working on community engagement, education, health and poverty reduction or governance. You all have a vital role to play in line with the Constitution, encouraging diversity and the shared principles of transparency and accountability. Or, to bring it back to the mouse, the chicken and the cow, we must move from the battleground to the common ground. We need, ladies and gentlemen, collaboration, not confrontation. Asante sana.